Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Derek and Katie. Let's get to the show.
Take the time to openly have a raw conversation about love.
This is a good question for you because you've never been in love. Like, what do you think it will take for you? Or do you know?
I guess the real answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
This may sound, I guess, kind of weird or twisted, but like, I've always been wondering, like, I guess, waiting for the day that I actually get my heart broken.
I don't know if I've introduced this concept before, but there is a known concept and a known experience that people will report called aromanticism. Aromanticism is romanticism, but a, meaning without, that many people will report. They will say that they're 45 years old and they've never really understood why other people fall in love, and they've never felt in love. They've never felt romantic love. They felt love for their friends, love for their family, love for their animals, their pets, love for their favorite TV show or whatever it is, but no romantic love. They might have liked to have sex with people. There's also asexual people, and sometimes there's some overlap there. But sometimes there's just everything else is right down the middle, average, within normal limits, except for the person reports never feeling romantic love. And what we have come to believe is that some people, for whatever reason, it just is what it is. A lot of times this gets pathologized, like, oh, they must have some kind of trauma, or they haven't met the right person yet, or they're holding back. And yeah, for sure that can be part of it. But it seems that with some people, when we do all the assessments and you track them over time and you try to do various different things to grease the gears, so to speak, it just doesn't happen. And so the community, my community, has concluded that for some people, it just seems like they just don't have the capacity to fall in love, and there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing wrong with it is that society will pathologize them. They're perfectly happy not falling in love. They're perfectly happy not having those kind of googly eyes for another person. They like friends. They like to hang out with people. They like attachments, but they just have no sense of love. They just don't get it. They don't understand it. They see all the movies about it. When they look at it, they just think like, what is that? I don't even understand what's happening. Now, I don't know if Derek is that sort of person. He doesn't seem like it, because otherwise he'd be saying other things, and maybe he secretly has these kinds of things. A lot of aromantic people will say when they go to movies and you have Ryan Gosling and, was that his name? and Rachel McAdams having some kind of moment, and everyone's really empathizing and crying or getting upset. The aromantic person is watching the movie going like, why is everyone really resonating with the story? I find this story to be boring. I don't even like it. It's just kind of gross to me. I don't like seeing them kiss. I don't like seeing them fall in love. Everyone else seems to like this. I don't like this. And they usually start to feel that difference between them and other people. It's similar to the way we would have had years past, or even today in some communities, where you have a gay 16-year-old watching a movie about heterosexual love, and they're just like, everyone else seems to like this heterosexual thing. What's different about me? But of course, in our society, we have raised the awareness that gay people are a thing, and we haven't raised awareness that aromanticism or asexuality is a thing. So maybe Derek is one of those people. Again, he doesn't really seem to talk like that. My suspicion for Derek is that he's one of the nice avoidant people. If you've watched the videos that I have made, we've often come upon avoidant attached people, meaning that early in life they had enough of a problem with parenting that they just sort of turned themselves off from vulnerability and from even expecting to get love. Derek has said some things along these lines, and other people have even said that about him, and that he's very picky about his romantic partners. He'll very quickly move away. He's never felt really in love. He doesn't seem to have any desperation to fall in love. And sometimes avoidant people will be like that. They'll feel like they just have a hard time bridging that gap between themselves and other people, usually because they have so many walls around them. Now, often in these videos, the kinds of people we see with those walls around them are also kind of jerks to other people, like the Tom and Darcys of the world, that kind of thing. But there are plenty of avoidant attached people who are actually extremely nice and very moral and very caring and very ethical, but they just have a disconnect between their conscious emotional center and their other deeper emotional center, is the way I'll put it today. Meaning that their romantic needs are there, but they aren't really connecting with them because they cut themselves off from a lot of their feelings due to mild to moderate or greater emotional neglect growing up. So let's see if we get more data on that. The problem on these shows a lot of times is that they will pathologize this. Not only will people like the Katies of the world will pathologize it and then push the Dereks away instead of helping to erode those walls. But so the Katies of the world, the shows of the show will pathologize the Dereks. The professionals will pathologize the Derek. Instead of saying there's nothing pathological about this, it's a matter of helping Derek to get to know himself better, helping him to tear down those walls and not to criticize him or judge him.
And I mean, I've always been the one that's kind of, I don't know, broken hearts.
I don't know. I think this is something that I've learned pretty recently. I'm getting too old to keep going after the chase.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they going to be as invested as I'm going to be?
Now, the other part of this is that Katie absolutely deserves the freedom to say, this is a deal breaker. I don't care why Derek has this problem. Is it aromanticism? Is it avoidant attachment? Do we just need to be around each other for more time? Katie is totally within her moral right to say, I don't want to wait. And this is a deal breaker for me. Unless you fall in love with me in the next, month or two, then I'll count myself out, because I want to have more assuredness about love between the two of us. And that's totally fine too. There's nothing wrong with Katie making that choice in my book.
That's not going to get me where I want to be in my life. And that's just, I'm only going to be heartbroken.
I think I'm right there with you.
But it sounds like you've been on the other side of that.
Um,
And it doesn't sound like you have ever wanted something bad enough to really fight for it.
For love, no.
I've had these experiences with guys who have not, been able to feel like what I feel for them. And I'm just scared that, you're going to be that too. I'm trying to, be all in. And I'm, scared too.
I will say that some of the musical cues of this show are extremely intrusive to my ears. We're listening to Katie. I'm really involved in what she's singing. All of a sudden, there's this vocal onslaught of some very stylistic "Stay with me here." I mean, I'm sure the musician is a fine musician, but that sort of stylized singing is not my thing, I'll just say. And so other shows don't do that as much. They'll definitely have a bed of music that's, an emotional cue, but this show will really go for it in terms of the sing-songy musical cue. Anyway.
The biggest thing right now is the fact that you're hesitant and putting everything in it because you don't know if I'll actually be there at the end of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, my greatest fear in my entire life is that I'll actually never fall in love. But I want to find love. I want to love.
I mean, I get that.
But what else is concerning you? I feel like there's something else.
I mean, no, it's not really anything else. It's that. That's kind of a big thing.
So these two are communicating really well about a difficult thing. He's being very upfront, lots of eye contact. I wish he would pour in a little bit more warmth of just and I'm really sorry, But I think it's sort of implied in his voice. And Katie is undeniably hurt, understandably hurt. But instead of manifesting that hurt in anger or judgment towards Derek, she's just yeah, I get it. and the tone of voice, the way they talk to each other. It's just I've been with couples who have divorced with a similar vibe, where one person is just like, you know what, I'm so sorry, but I just don't love you anymore. And the other person, there's ups and downs with the other person, but for the most part, the other person is just like, well, okay, it hurts, it's devastating, but I guess it is what it is. And you go through it. There's no reason why you have to yell at each other all the time. You can be hurt without yelling. You can be Derek and feel guilty without covering it up. You can I wish they would be a little bit more explicit about it, just so we could have an even better example. But this is really good. I just want to point out there's so many different triggers there for either person to put up walls or get angry or accuse each other, and they're not doing that, which is very healthy.
I think for me, I've always been able to like be vulnerable for somebody that I really cared about. And I think that it's like concerning for me that you have never had that.
So I understand what you're saying, but I also want you to know that I feel it's unfair you say that every time, that I'm concerned that you haven't felt love yet, because I kind of feel it's I feel like you don't have to feel love before you're 27. I feel like, maybe you haven't met the right person, or maybe it's something else. Maybe it is me. I don't know. But I do think it's that it's a red flag that I haven't found love yet.
Okay.
Okay, I think that he's reacting maybe to previous conversations, because I don't think that's really what Katie was saying, that it's a red flag. I think maybe she had said that before, or other people have said that before. And I think it is totally fine for him to have that statement of like, look, the fact that I haven't fallen in love yet, I don't think should be pathologized. And I totally agree with him. There's plenty of people who don't find love until they're older. Totally fine. In fact, a lot of pain can be avoided if people wait to get married, because a lot of young marriages can result in not so great things. Not always, obviously. My parents fell in love in high school, and they're still married after 57 years. So obviously it can happen. But anyway, my point is that he's saying, I don't want to be pathologized, and I agree with him. I don't think Katie really deserved that kind of attitude in that moment. And then Katie's just like, yeah, okay.
I feel like in a perfect world, we all fall in love once. I know I might be stretching, but I don't think it's weird if I haven't fallen in love yet. I at some point I will. I will. Just because she's fallen in love twice, and she holds it against me. Some people it takes years. Some people they meet when they meet in high school. I don't know. You can't time. I just think it's kind of that it's being held against me.
Yeah, I don't know if Katie is holding it against you in that moment. Maybe she was. Maybe I wasn't picking up on something. But I think she has in the past. So yeah, you don't want it. You don't want to be pathologized, Derek, and that is absolutely fair.
With everything that we talked about tonight, I have been hurt before, so I don't really want to be hurt again, especially not so soon. It just sucks. It sucks not really having any reassurance, or I don't know, just I felt like I knew kind of where we were going and what was gonna happen, and now I feel like I don't have any idea.
So I'm really proud of Katie. She is being very healthy, and as a mental health person, I'm quite proud of her, that she's just laying it out there. Those core feelings of, this just sucks. I thought I knew where it was headed, and I don't know where it's going to head now. And I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm worried that I'm going to get hurt again. And there's a lot of indications that I'm going to get hurt again. And that's just terrible. There's so many other things Katie could be doing this moment. She could be putting up walls. She could be giving attitude. I don't need love. This is bull crap. I'm out of here. You're a terrible person. You're gaslighting me. Da da da. Whatever it is, she's not going there. She's just sticking with, this just hurts. It's scary. I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know what to do. And it hurts. There's so much health in being able to stay there. Now, I don't know if she's been through a lot of therapy or she was raised well enough to be able to stand on a firm ground there. A lot of people don't have that firm ground because of the way they were raised. And so they will go to the anger and the distractions because they think that if they stand on the kinds of things that, or they sit in the sort of state that Katie is sitting in, that they're just going to fall through the floor.
So how are you feeling about last night?
Yeah. Well, I guess, first of all, sorry if it seemed like I snapped. Didn't mean to.
I'm not like holding it against you that you haven't fallen in love, but at the same time, it does like raise a little bit of concern because your reason for not finding love is that you haven't felt like anybody was worth like pursuing. And so I just worry about like, will you feel that for me? Are you gonna feel like I'm not worth it?
2 thumbs up, Katie. Perfect. I'm worried that you're not gonna love me, that you're gonna think I'm not good enough to love. That totally rational, and good job, Derek. I'm sorry I snapped at you. I shouldn't have done that. Good communication.
But I just
And
haven't
I do
met
like
anyone.
I do recognize that you have been like putting an effort with me and like trying to like come up with like fun dates for us and like, you know, trying to give me like words of affirmation and all that. I do see that you're putting in effort.
I really do like you, and I haven't found a single trait about you that I don't like. I have a crush on you.
Oh, you got some butterflies?
Yeah, some butterflies.
Okay.
I want to make this work. I don't know what's.
So you hear that turn in contrast to some of the other couples that are on the show. There's a Y in the road. This can go negative, it can go positive. And then he says all these positive things. She says all these positive things. And now he's talking about a crush. He's talking about butterflies. And she's like, oh, butterflies, okay. And now what looked like it was terrible last night, like through their behavior, they, you know, many little tiny, I always talk about this with my couples, is that when you get into conversations like this, and really throughout your marriage, there's thousands of little Y's on the road. You can choose to go this way or you can choose to go that way. And it's your choice. You have to choose, which way am I going to go? And if you go this way, then there's another Y. And then you have another choice. There's always choices. You can make the choice. And if you make a lot of certain choices in one direction, then it's going to cause the marriage to break up, or it's going to make it more likely to break up. But both people have to be mindful of the choices that they make and not feel like there's only one way to go. Because if you do that, then often you're dictated by your negative feelings and your self-protection.
What's going to happen at the end of this? I have no idea, but I am optimistic right now. Very optimistic.
Me too. Just don't snap at me.
Okay. I won't snap at you.
But it's okay. Okay.
And then she says, just don't do that. Not, you are a person who has an anger problem, that accusation of the full person. Just please don't snap at me. And then he says, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I won't. And then she reaches out, hand on hand, warmth. Awesome. Great job. She gives mental health people a good name.
Forgive you.
And then she forgives. It's a wonderful thing. Forgiveness.
And I'm sorry for, I guess, dwelling on the issue. And I will stop.
I don't want to break your heart.
Good.
Don't break mine.
I won't. I promised your mom I wasn't going to.
And then she follows it up with her own apology. It's just fantastic. Why did she apologize in that moment? He didn't ask for it. He might not have even necessarily needed it. But she intuited that he probably still has some concern about that narrative that there's something broken about him because he hasn't fallen in love yet in his life. And so she says, well, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that anymore. And that's what apologizing is you're intuiting, I bet you they're still concerned about this. I should probably apologize. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I, Dr. Kirk Honda, react to this show. Tune in next time when we continue reacting to this show.